the mini SIMA webinar series. My name is Greg Renfroe. I'm the Senior Vice President of Business Development at Nationwide Payments. I've been in the industry for about 15 years. I'm excited and pleased to be part of SIMA, as I'm an avid surfer. Been surfing since I was a young teenager. Even tried playing a professional surfer from around 89, 90 back in the PSA days. That'll kind of date how old I am. Figured out really quick that I wasn't good enough to quite make it as a professional and decided I needed to go back to school. So ended up in the credit card processing world. We're going to talk about several topics that hopefully will help your business in the merchant service industry, and hopefully protect you from fraud, industry news, better pricing, better understanding of several things that are going on in the industry. We'll discuss issuer push, EMV and NFC, PCI compliant, fraud, the Visa MasterCard lawsuit going on right now, and also processing best practice. I think it's important to just go over a little bit about issuer push. In our industry, we really look at this. This was what really drives the industry. The issuers are the ones who actually really dictate the pricing, dictate who's going to use the cards and how they're going to use the cards. So they lead the consumer, and I figured it might be a good way to lead this conversation so you guys can pay attention to what some of the issues are, with the commercials that are going on, and it may help your business to see, how the credit card processing companies or the issuers are actually dictating to their customers how they're going to spend their money. For examples, I'm sure you've all seen the Capital One Venture cards where you get airline miles, hotel points, Hilton's, Marriott's. They basically all have them where as long as you use their Visa card, builds up points for free stay. Earning miles or free gas. And also cash back, obviously. Another thing that's going on with issuer push is they're pushing really hard for consumers to pay their bills with credit card, whether it's an invoice or their banks, their phone statements, phone bills, anything they can. They're actually seeing the different type of niche markets, and they're going to push their consumers to start using cards, because not only do they make the money off the interchange, they're making it off of the interest that, when people drive up those credit cards too high. One of the hot topics or things that's coming around the corner is EMV. If you've traveled abroad, you'll notice that we're a little bit behind the schedule, because over in Europe, they've had Euro, MasterCard, Visa. They've had it for several years. It's the new chip card. We have a mandate coming around October 2015. That's when we're supposed to be really pushing forward on the EMV side of things, where the mag strip's going to go away and the new chip card's coming out. So whenever you hear someone talking about, credit card machine, or eventually you'll start to see your cards changing where you'll see a computer chip, you'll at least have an idea for your business side, what's expected. There's two kinds of EMV chips. One is chip and pin, where you'll enter your PIN number, and the other one will be chip and signature. And the issuers are going to decide which direction they want to go. You as a business in a face-to-face environment is going to have to decide, do I want a credit card machine or a POS system that just does chip and pin, or both? In most cases, you'll have one that can do both. The reason for the EMV, it's to help reduce the fraud that's going on in America. And America leads all countries with fraud and face-to-face, whether it's card skimming. Here in Florida, where I'm out of, they just collected about 120 card skimmers from gas stations. So that people are trying to steal just their magnetic strip information so that they can place it on a blank card and charge up around the country and basically steal money from you or steal your information. So by doing the EMV, that's really going to help drive down the ability to steal that information, because the mag strip will eventually go away. NFC, and it's another thing that's helping with security, near field communication. it's been around for a long time. NFC's technology is basically you can bump your phones and transfer information. That's getting popular. Also, you'll be able to walk up to POS systems and turn your phone on and basically scan it so that you're able to process a credit card through your phone. So eventually you may not even have to carry your wallet. Some examples of NFC that you may have seen that really didn't take off, but I think is going to make a really strong comeback is the Speed Pass, which a lot of gas stations had. Google Wallet, that's been around for a while, but really didn't take off. But it's basically, it's the same thing as the soft card, which used to be called ISIS. And then the most popular that's been kicked off that you've probably seen a lot of advertisements is the Apple Pay. Google Wallet, Apple Pay, it's all the same mechanism that you store your credit cards on your phone with a password protection or your fingerprint, and allows you to walk up to a POS system or credit card machine, put your phone up to it, and do the transaction via your phone. The big buzz going on right now with the EMV is a liability shift that's going to happen in 2015. The most important thing to remember about the October 2015 deadline is there's no mandate for merchants to require themselves to use EMV technology, but the card brands are basically going to shift the liability on those who aren't EMV capable. What that means is the merchant's going to need to be able to have the EMV capabilities and the issuer. So if an issuer doesn't have the capabilities of the chip and PIN or chip and signature card, they would be responsible for the liability. If they've provided their consumers with the ability with a chip and PIN or chip and signature, and the merchant doesn't have the capabilities, then they're going to be responsible for any fraudulent activity at their location. So basically, there's no change as long as you've done what you're supposed to. The credit card processors are supposed to be EMV capable. The merchant's supposed to be EMV capable. And to this date, unfortunately, the issuers are still going to pass on the responsibilities to us as a processor and you as a merchant. So you need to definitely, where you can, be able to take the EMV NFC. I do realize that many of the SIMA members, do a lot of B2B and a lot of invoicing and card not present or e-commerce. Unfortunately, that doesn't change the liability shift at all. So nothing will change there. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about PCI. PCI has been around for a while, and it's not going away. Even with the EMV being mandatory, PCI will still be here. And some processors take it serious. Some are kind of nonchalant about it. We like to make sure all of our merchants that process through us are PCI compliant for two reasons. One is to protect our merchants from any fraud and protect ourselves, because at the end of the day, the credit card processing company and the merchants are tied together. The issuer is going to always side with the consumer for the most part. So as a processor, you want to make sure that your processor is giving you the tools needed to be PCI compliant. Make sure you don't store credit card numbers in a vulnerable place, and make sure all your receipts are truncated. And another thing in regards to being PCI compliant, many people have a misconception that if they use a software or e-commerce solution that's PCI compliant, that's all they need to do to be protected. It's not true. The merchant now needs to be compliant. So we use a company called Control Scan, and they go through and do what they call SAQ, and they answer questions for the merchants to make sure their passwords are protected or their gateway's protected or their e-commerce. So they do a scan. So there's many things they do to make sure that you're doing everything you can to protect yourself. So if you're not compliant, and you would know if you are because you'd actually get a certificate with a complete scan, you need to check with your current credit card provider to see who they're using or offering as far as a PCI compliant audit. It's just, it is something you have to do annually, but it's worth it to protect yourself and your business from getting any fraud. Next, I'd like to talk about is the payment card interchange fee and merchant discount antitrust settlement. Visa MasterCard is one of the largest class action lawsuits in history, known as the Payment Card Interchange Fee and Merchant Discount Antitrust Settlement. Visa MasterCard agreed to pay over $6 billion in reimbursement to merchants who were overcharged on their Visa MasterCard transaction fees. This ranges from if you've taken cards from 2004 to 2011. We don't know what your percentage would be, but out of the $6 billion, if you don't at least apply or put your name in the hat, you won't get anything. So it's definitely worth checking into with your current processor. We've partnered at Nationwide. We've partnered with a company called Settlement Recovery Group. They're going to take care of all of our merchants and give a piece back. And obviously they're going to take a percentage of whatever they collect. But it's a no risk, obligation to join the class action lawsuit and see if you can get some of your money back. So I would definitely check with your current provider, or you're welcome to contact me as well if you had any questions in regards to it. If you didn't want to do it yourself, if you want to get to a recovery group, make it easier for yourself. Again, it's no charge. Most of these recovery groups only charge if they win some money for you. Another thing I want to talk about is best practice processing. So basically, many of you do e-commerce or have a retail shop, or you're wholesaling, doing B2B. So there's several things you can do for yourself for each type of transaction that can save you some money and protect yourself against fraud as well. The best thing you can always do is a card swipe transaction. That's the safest, most secured, and the cheapest. So wherever possible, you always want to swipe a card. At some point, when you're swiping a card and it doesn't work because the magnetic strip's scratched, you're going to have to key in the card. Sometimes you'll notice if you're ever keying in a card, it's going to ask you for an AVS, which is basically an address verification service. And you want to enter that information it's asking you because it's going to protect you against any chargebacks and also give you a better rate. You can bypass it and still take the transaction, no problem. It's just going to cost you a little bit more. And again, if there's ever a chargeback, you might be liable. So wherever you can, you definitely want to use the address verification, whether it's on your website or even a face-to-face transaction or over the phone. You want to use this, and it really helps you against fraud. Some of the e-commerce solutions, you can set settings in the back office where it allow you to either decline a card, accept a card, depending on what your level of risk is. You determine what you're able to or willing to take as far as risk. You may say, you know what, I don't care if the zip code doesn't match. I know my customers, the risk is very low, so we're going to let that go through. Or you know what, I do a lot of international shipping. I want to make sure the zip code and street address match. So I'm going to set that system up that way so it declines if it doesn't. And then you'll be notified, So the AVS gives you several different areas or levels of risk, and you get to decide what you can are willing to take. And again, that helps with the pricing as well. Not only that, and the risk. Another thing that's good to do, especially if you're a wholesale selling to surf shops and you're invoicing them and they're paying with their business card, is making sure your system is prompting you for level 2, level 3 data. Many of you ship merchants to retailers with an invoice. The card brands give special pricing for these types of transactions. Level 2, level 3 data provided will guarantee you better rates. By submitting for level 2, all you need to do is be able to provide an invoice number and tax. Even if you don't have a tax or you don't have an invoice number, by putting information in those fields will guarantee you the lower rate. And that will not guarantee transactions for rewards cards, but anybody using a commercial card, a corporate card, a business card, purchasing any of those type of cards, right now, if you're not putting that information in, it's going through just fine. You're just going to be charged a higher interchange level. By adding this information, you're able to get better interchange, which will save you money over time. Level 3 is very similar. You still have to do the level 2 information, which is the purchase order or invoice number and tax, but you'd also have to enter shipping, postal codes, freight amount, duty amount. Level 3 is not quite used as much as level 2. Level 2 is pretty much used for all B2B. Level 3 is more for your higher end ticket items selling to government. It could be rarely used in probably in most SIMA members' cases, but the good thing is if you have the proper software that's prompting you, the software will dictate when they see that card and will prompt you for that information. So when it can be used, it'll at least prompt you to do it. And again, you can always bypass it, but again, you can save money by entering in the data needed. So does anyone have any questions? I know I kind of breezed through this, but we just wanted to give you a short overview of things you could do to help, your business run cleaner with credit card processing, protect yourself against some fraud, and hopefully save you some money making sure you're processing in the correct manner. Any questions? Well, again, I appreciate you joining the first SIMA webinar. Hopefully we'll have many more to come. My contact information's here. Please feel free, even if you're not processing with us, we'd be glad to help answer any questions, or we're here for you as a SIMA member to help you run your business a little bit better, especially when you're accepting credit cards. And we appreciate your time.